At the hairdressers in Vernon, B.C., a grandmother and retired legislator who made Canadian history, Rita Johnston, the first woman premier in the country.
I have down-to-earth values, you know, bread and butter concerns.
Reporters called her Premier Mom. Johnston led BC's Social Credit Party through victory and defeat, pledging to voters she would never tell a lie.
The short time I have had as Premier and leader has been one of the most interesting and challenging of my entire life, and that really is an understatement.
They were the most demanding and challenging months of my life, I'm sure.
Rita was raised in North Vancouver and married her high school sweetheart, George, at 16. They managed a trailer park and raised 3 children. Long afterward, Johnston said, "I didn't complete high school. I think often you learn more after you leave."
I think the majority of the people understand plain, simple language and concerns expressed by ordinary working people and the concerns that ordinary working people have. And that's basically what I was trying to get across.
Johnston was first a city councillor in Surrey, then a member of the legislature in 1983. As a social credit cabinet member, asked once by a reporter for a sit-down feature interview, Johnston replied her life was uncomplicated and not newsworthy. She was just Rita.
I am prepared to resign now to ensure an orderly transition.
In 1991, with the resignation of Premier Bill Vander Zalm amid allegations of conflict, Johnston, as Deputy Premier, was promoted by caucus. No woman ever held such a post. The papers asked, what you call a woman Premier? Madam, or Mrs., or Ms.? Johnston's Social Credit Party had ruled for much of the past 40 years. It was the party of British Columbia's small towns and neighborhoods. In office and out, Johnston remained unaffected. She said she had never dreamed of running the province, remarking later, "If she'd known what lay ahead, I wouldn't have taken the job," she said.
I would have been so nervous that the whole thing would have been, you know, trying to chair a meeting with all these premiers, and you don't want to have a screw up.
6 months in office, Johnston called an election every commentator agreed her party could not win.
This campaign is going to be won constituency by constituency and poll by poll and door by door.
Johnston was one of the people, she said, telling a reporter, "I speak the language everyone understands."
You don't think I'd be working this hard if I thought I was going to lose, do you? Of course we're going to win.
Losing anything is sad, and for me and for my family and for all of the people that worked really hard to try and get me elected, that was the tough part.
Johnston lost her own riding to New Democrats by 2,400 votes. Her fight to save social credit was doomed by a legacy of voter fatigue and scandal. Johnston said later, "I wonder if it had been somebody else in this position, would things have turned out differently?" A newspaperman wrote, Johnston's finest moments as Premier came when every sign said disaster was approaching, yet she soldiered on with unflagging cheer for demoralized social creditors in the last days of a dynasty whose time was passing. Johnston retired to the Okanagan. It was the country where BC's social credit era began in post-war years and where it ended. In Vernon, Johnston goes unrecognized at the grocery store. In retirement, she sought no honors or position and wrote no memoirs. She lives right down to earth, she said.
It just seems like it never happened. And then when somebody comes up to me and says, "Weren't you in Victoria?" And then I say, yeah, that seems like 100 years ago.